Hello, this is Dr. Muriel Rand, and this video is about Task 3, the assessment task for edTPA in the Early Childhood Education Handbook. This is part 1, and it will focus just on getting started. The key assessment constructs that you are focusing on for Task 3 include analyzing student learning, providing feedback to guide learning, analyzing your students' use of vocabulary, and then using your assessments to inform instruction. There are 5 parts that you're going to submit. Part A is video or audio evidence of learning. Part B is their observational notes and work samples. Part C is the evidence of feedback. Part D is the assessment commentary, and Part E is the evaluation criteria. And I'm going to go through all of these in this series of videos in detail. So in order to get started with this, you have to select one common assessment from your learning segment that you will use to evaluate children's language and literacy development. It can come from any of your 3 lessons, but it must be completed by all of the children in whatever you're considering the class. You don't have to have it from the kids that you didn't have permission for, only from the kids you included in your video recording. It can be in the form of writing, drawing, painting, photos, project work, etc. And you must have 2 work samples from this assessment for the 2 focus students. These can be videos, or it could be a writing piece that they did, or a graphic organizer or something like that. So again, you need to have one common assessment from one of your lessons, and you're going to use that common assessment for Task 3. The next thing you need to do is to determine the evaluation criteria for your assessment. Some of you might have done this already as part of Task 1, but just in case you didn't do it as part of Task 1, you need to know how you will score the assessment. Are you going to use a rubric, a checklist, or something like that? I personally think rubrics are the easiest form to use for Task 3. And then you have to decide what is the passing score. In other words, what score is your target? What score do you want your students to be able to get? You're also going to have other criteria for your special needs learners. And then you're going to put this information into a separate file. It can be a Word file that you then create a PDF file. And you're going to label it Part E, evaluation criteria. So this would probably be a rubric or whatever you're using in order to evaluate your assessment. Then the next step is going to be to analyze your assessment. So you need to create a chart or a table or something like that that has all of your students' scores. And you can do, I'm giving you some examples here. You're going to have to analyze this once you've created it. So it just helps you to see all of your students' scores in one place. So for example, the one that's on the screen right now was a writing piece, and she evaluated whether they had a title, whether they had an introduction, whether they had included the ingredients that were required, whether they included the directions that were required, and the quality of the illustrations. And they could be scored from a 1 to 3. And then down the left-hand side, she labeled all the different students. The chart was bigger than this. I'm only showing you the first 5. Here are another 2 examples of charts. The top one, again, was a writing prompt, and they had to stay on topic. She evaluated their punctuation or capitalization, whether they had the setting, whether they had the contents and the details and the illustrations, and again listed all the students and the scores that they got. The one on the bottom right, this was more of a quiz, and they had to answer questions 1 to 4. They had to write 3 facts. The facts had to be relevant, and they had to use conventions of print. And then they got a total score on the side. So you can see there are different ways of doing this. There's not one way. Be creative, make it fit whatever it was that you evaluated your students on. Now, once you've got all that ready, then go to the next video, which is Assessment Task 3, Part 2.